I tell people it's like you can mimic a strategy. We talked about this, like so-and-so is doing it this way. I'm going to mimic this. You cannot mimic the story. You cannot mimic the personal
Mhm.
experiences.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so happy you are here with us today because we are bringing another incredible guest here to the podcast. So excited to have Michelle Knight. She's the founder, brand strategist with her business, Brandmerry. So welcome, Michelle. I'm so happy you are here.
Thanks for having me. I am so pumped. I'm so pumped.
Yay. So pumped. We have so much to cover. But before we get to like your official introduction, I kind of like to start with a little rapid fire, which some people think is weird that I do at the beginning, but I think it just like gets us in the mood. So we're just going to roll with it.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. Here's a big one. One word that describes your brand.
Human.
Human. Ooh, okay. I love that. I think we're going to unpack that. I love that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So good. Okay. How about a travel destination that you visited that you'd go back to in a heartbeat? Like one of those places where you're like, I cannot wait to go back.
I think one of the most memorable places we've been to is Idra, Greece. It's a small island off of Athens and there's no cars allowed. And so you have to take like a mule up to like your Airbnb and it's got like a huge
mule?
mountain. Yeah, this is very cool.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Adding it to my bucket list. Mule rides and no cars.
Yeah, no cars.
That's incredible. Okay, and favorite social platform to hang out on? Where do you like to hang on social, if at all?
Yeah, okay, that's the tricky one. I think I like to be on TikTok. Like I
Okay.
like to watch on
Like as
TikTok.
a consumer.
As a
of
consumer, my
social.
feed
Okay.
is my favorite on TikTok for sure.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a loaded question because some days I'm like, none of the above, but other days
Yeah,
I'm like,
can I put my phone somewhere and live in the woods and not have any access to social media? Totally fine with me.
totally fine. My favorite right now is I volunteered to do social media for our all-star softball team. So I have a bunch of 12 and 13-year-old girls that are like, let's do a dance. Like, did you get that on video? Can we do this? And it's like my fun little social hobby project that I've probably put too much time into, to the point that my husband was like, maybe we should be working on our own social presence that makes us money. And I'm like, no, but do you see that we got 10,000 views on that cute reel I made of those girls?
It's always easier to get all of the views on the things that you're like, this is funny, or I'm just going to put this dance on the internet. And it's like,
Exactly. I think it's the low pressure of it where I'm like, oh, this is all just for fun. It's like a little hobby project. Let's talk a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit of your story, how you went from corporate life to building Brandmerry, and of course, like who you serve and what you're all about here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my story is a very interesting one because it starts before my business actually started, which is true for most individuals, I think. But to just kind of jump into it because I'm all about pulling back the curtain. So
Yeah.
I actually lost my brother to cancer in 2009 when he was 19. And that really set in motion kind of an uncovering for me on what living life actually looked like. And the best way for me to describe it is that I'm very intentional with every single thing that I do. And I think about like, how does this actually contribute to my life as a whole? And because of that, and doing that for so many years, marrying the man that I chose to marry, having my son, when my son was born, I was like, I don't want to miss out on any of this. And so the option was at the time, start my own business. And I happened to have a friend who was jumping into the coaching world. Remember, everyone, this was 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
So very different, very different. And I just kind of asked myself, like, what do I have that could contribute to this? You know, I was really good on video. I grew up doing theater. I had a master degree in public relations. I had worked in nonprofit and communication. And so I just was like, well, I'll just help people with their marketing, kind of like their messaging and all of that. And that's how Brandmerry really started. until I realized that I hated my brand. Hated it.
Plot twist.
I had basically looked at what everyone else was doing and what all the other brands at the time looked like. And if anyone was around at that time, it was basically girls in pink heels in front of an Eiffel Tower. And like I tried to mirror that in any way that I could until I realized that I hated it. I hated my brand. I felt really disconnected. So I stripped it all away. I just like repurposed old travel photos I had. I just rewrote my whole website copy and I started talking more just about being the person behind the brand. And my business just took off. And in the first year, I made 6 figures in my business. And, I just continued to kind of hone my skill of teaching entrepreneurs how to tap into the personal side of their brand while running a business and sharing it through the art of storytelling. So 10 years later, that's what she does.
That's what she does. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I love that you said that. Like, how often, as somebody that's trying to build a personal brand or trying to show up online or try to hang out on TikTok or wherever we're building, do we think like, oh, this person's doing it right. I should be doing it like this person, right? So I love that you called that out to be like, that wasn't me. And I thought it was. And then I realized that like, actually there's more to it and it looks different for me. And it's okay to make that shift also as your brand continues to evolve. I think so many people are like, well, this is who I am now. I'm just going to stick with what I've been doing. So what a great example of pivoting and changing and growing and evolving and all the things.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. And I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit more as we dive into storytelling and stuff. But like, I am the type of person that has really come to believe that your brand is never final because you're constantly tapping into kind of who you are. And it's very interesting for myself and so many of my clients. It's like, through the process of trying to figure out what the business brand is, you kind of discover who you are as well. Like what colors you love, what kind of vibe you want to give off. And I know for me personally, I had a new baby. We were just talking about our kids being similar ages,
Yeah.
So I was trying to build a business and raise a baby at the same time. And so the thought of like filming with a perfect background or it being silent didn't work. So my option was like, show up with what I have where I am or don't show up at all. And I think that's really 10 years ago before personal branding was what it is today was really how we all kind of started because it was this or we don't do it essentially.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. And yes, I also agree that like I've had moments where I'm like, gosh, I think I've outgrown this brand that I built. Like, what's my next big move? Like, what's the pivot? What's the thing that's going to keep me exciting? How do we do a refresh? Like, we've renamed, we've done new logos, we've done new color. Like, we have grown and evolved, but it is like personal. It's personal when you're like, oh, this is no longer representative of who I am or how I teach or how I show up. And now we're going to make a shift. And that's okay. Okay, so let's talk about personal brand because I think that this is such a hot topic and it's so relevant for our community. In the direct selling world, you're attached to a parent company and there's a brand that you're representing and there's products that you're selling. And so often direct sellers or social sellers are like, well, my brand is Pampered Chef or Scentsy or whatever brand it is that they're selling, they associate themselves as the same or attached to this brand. So what is creating a personal brand actually mean and why does it matter to have your own unique personal brand beyond just those products or that company that you're representing?
Yeah, so it's actually the way that I describe it, it's perfect for your audience, is that there are so many people selling and doing exactly what you are selling and doing, right?
Like literally,
Like
because there's
literally,
thousands of them.
literally. And so when you think about that, we have to take it a step layer because it doesn't actually become about the product or the service in why they make a purchase decision. It comes down to the person selling the product or the service. And this has always been the case for direct sellers, always been the case. And now it's expanding and like coaches are realizing it and course creators and all of those are also realizing it as well because the market there's a lot of us out here. And so the demand really is separating yourself, differentiating yourself, building the know, like, and trust factor, which is what we say about branding all the time.
Yep.
And that's where personal branding really comes in. I tell people it's like you can mimic a strategy. We talked about this, like so-and-so is doing it this way. I'm going to mimic this. You cannot mimic the story. You cannot mimic the personal experience. And it's very interesting right now in the market and actually kind of a case study too that literally just happened this week. where a woman, and you might have seen this, launched a course and she made like $1.2 million in 5 days. And all she had been doing was documenting her existence, documenting her discovery of leaving corporate and finding her next move,
Mhm.
talking to camera, listening to her audience, building the know, like, and trust that when she finally launched the thing, everyone wanted the thing. And it wasn't the thing,
Yeah,
right?
they wanted
She
her. They were
honed,
like,
they wanted her. They
yeah.
wanted her. And we're seeing this all over the place. So number one, the demand is there, right?
Mhm.
And so when the demand is there, we need to meet demand. But also, and my personal kind of take on it is it makes running a business easier because you have to create content. You have to market. You have to create promotional materials. Do it in a way that's very authentic and aligned to you and see how consistency pays off.
Yeah.
Because no matter what industry you're in, direct selling, course, coaches, anything like that, the thing that differentiates most brands when it comes to marketing and getting their brand and their business seen is that they consistently do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nothing makes it easier than when it's like aligned with what you want to say, what you want to share, showing the products in an everyday life, showing people
Mhm.
actually using them organically. And that's the type of stuff that we are just seeing absolutely explode and for good reason.
Yeah. Okay, so I love this, and I'm gonna switch my brain over to one of our listeners because I know this is the next question coming. They're like, okay, Michelle, I'm following. That's cool. Yeah, it's like easy to be authentic and real and genuine and you need this personal brand because people are gonna connect with it. No, like trust factor, like we know all these things. But I feel like my story is just
Mhm.
boring. Or I feel like I am not that interesting. Or like I feel like there's things that might be too personal to share or too weird to share. People might be like why is she showing up this way or acting that? And my goal is to get more people to follow me and more people to buy my things, not turn people off. So for people that might think that they don't have a lot to share or that their life is not that glamorous and exciting, what would you say to them?
Okay, well, I have a lot to say on this topic.
Me too, but I'm gonna let you say it.
We'll take it piece by piece. Piece number one, and I love to tell my clients this because sometimes we just need this permission slip. You do not
Mhm.
have to share everything online. Building a personal brand does not mean documenting your existence on the internet. That is not what it means. And this is why I take the angle of strategic storytelling. And I know we'll talk a little bit about that. You're being strategic with what you are sharing. And that really does come down to what you're offering and who your ideal customer is, right? Because, like,
Mhm.
I could share so much on the internet. I share my makeup, which is like baseline. But like, I don't need to do this. Not really kind of helping me grow my business. I'm not feeling called to do that either. I know my audience. I know my ideal customer so well that it's easy for me to pull from my current experiences or past experiences and share those as a way to build know, like, and trust. So that's number one is you don't have to share everything online. It's not documenting your entire existence or living on the internet. And B, we have this thing in storytelling that says that you share the scar, not the wound, right? So you're not sharing things like while they're raw, while they're heavy. It doesn't mean you
Yeah.
can't share things in real time as
Yeah.
long as it feels good to you. And that's where like strategic aligned storytelling comes into play. So I love to share that first and foremost because that right away usually offers like a weight off the chest and a sigh that like, oh, okay, that seems a lot easier now. And then we kind of take the next step in the process of like, okay, but like what makes my story special? And again, such a cool time to be getting into all this because we have real life examples of this working in real time, right? Think about affiliates just killing it on platforms like TikTok by just sharing what they use to clean their dishes, right? Or like think thrift hauls. Think about all these little things that people are doing that are everyday activities that we do that they are using to drive sales in their business. So the reason we're seeing all of that come on the scene is because people are tired of perfect. They're tired
Mhm.
of feeling like we're burnt out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I shared at the very beginning a part of my story that I call like an earth shaking story, right? I lost my brother to cancer. Not everyone can relate to that, and not everyone does. And it's not my most used story because it's not the most relatable. The stories that really resonate with people are like when I decided I didn't want to go to college and I was like, let's fuck around and find out what happens. Or like
Yeah.
my gardening stuff is like huge. I will use that in B-roll all the time with an
Yep.
overlay of something that I want to teach or something I want my audience to know, but me doing everyday things. So
Mhm.
I encourage my clients, because it is hard in the beginning, I encourage them to take 72 hours and pay attention if conversations they're having, different things that are going on in their day to day, and document all of the little things as if they could all be pieces of content. And you will start to realize that you have so much that's just organically happening in your everyday life that you can use to sell your products and sell your
Yeah.
services.
All right, a little real talk. If your business lives on social media, you don't own it. Oh My High gives direct sellers a real website that's actually yours. Your links, your content, your personal brand, your email list. Not a replicated page that looks like everyone else's. We built it specifically for people just like you. There's no tech skills required. And as a podcast listener, get a free Capture and Convert homepage when you get started today. Visit the link in the show notes for the promo code or check it out over at ohmyhigh.com. Now, back to the episode. Okay, I love this so much. And I love podcasting so much because then I have conversations and I'm like, okay, 72 hours. I can write down all those things. But from a very practical perspective, Michelle, I have to ask you, because this is where my brain goes. I'm like, if I document everything for 72 hours, I also have to have time to like look at it all and decide what to pull from that and then apply it and create it. Like, I feel like the documenting piece, like, okay, I could probably pull that off. But then the actual, like, okay, what part of this do I want to share? Or how does this tie in? So I think that goes back to really that strategic storytelling and figuring out what makes sense to put out there and how you pull those stories through. So do you have any other thoughts on just kind of how you find the right pieces of content or stories to share that is going to be relatable and exciting to your followers and draw people in?
Absolutely. And I would also say that like you're not doing 72 hours every 72 hours, right? Like
Right,
you
right.
can
Yeah,
sit down and challenge yourself to do that and have content for weeks and weeks and weeks. But more than
yeah.
anything, it's the art of recognizing that there are stories
There's
that live
moments.
inside of you that yes, that are worth sharing. And I
Okay.
always say that storytelling is about a moment in time because that's what makes storytelling in content so powerful. It's not multiple chapters that have unfolded. It's like a very specific moment where you can paint a picture and you can go into the details. That's what works so well. So you're setting yourself up for success by already focusing on these micro moments because it makes the art of storytelling so much easier. We are also in a very fun time where we can utilize AI for this piece of it. And I cheat.
Okay.
And I tell my clients to cheat all the time, not with the
Yeah, let's
writing.
cheat. Tell us the
Let's
cheat.
cheat. I'm all about it. And so, I'm a brand strategist. So my clients, when they work with me, we figure out what are their brand pieces, right? Their brand pillars. What's their main products or offers? What's their ideal customer? And going nitty gritty. What's the psychological pieces of their ideal customer? What's the demographics? What are they thinking? What do they want? What makes them tick? What's their day to day? And putting that all in kind of like I call it a master brand document. And then what you can do is you can upload this into, if you're using AI, whatever AI portal you want, and you can dump in all of your different story ideas paired
Okay.
with something you're promoting. If you're doing if there's a flash sale happening with your company right now, or it's summer and they're doing like a launch of like the sunscreen line or whatever it is, and you can say, okay, well, the next, 30 days or 2 weeks or whatever timeline works for you. This is what I'm focused on promoting. This is everything that you need to know about my ideal customer. These are a bunch of stories that I have. Help me figure out which of these would be the most effective now. And then the rest of them could
Okay.
go into a story bank. You can tap
Yeah.
back into those at any point in time. And
Yeah.
then that helps you kind of figure out these connect to this and this here, and I can share this as this. And again, it depends on what platform you're on and where you're going to be sharing your stories, on how long they are and different things like that. There's, nuanced rules for all of this, but that takes the overwhelm away from
Okay.
figuring out what to actually say. And then the other piece, and this is something that I've kind of used with AI to ask me questions every week. So once you
Mhm.
get into this habit, okay, because this is the
Okay.
first step, just
Yes.
start doing it, please, right?
Yeah.
And just to rip the Band-Aid off. I've actually trained my AI that every time I go in to say, I want to create a week of content on Instagram, it will ask me 7 questions and I will answer them in real time. And
Mhm.
it'll ask me, like, what's one thing that you've been thinking about that you know your audience needs to hear? What's an experience that recently came up that ties directly to your offer? Do you have a moment where you use your product and you wanted to share it? And then it's again getting me into the art of like real time personality, human
Yeah.
aspect to branding that gets the ball rolling. And then, of course, there's frameworks and all kinds of other things that we can always dive
Yeah.
into. But
I love that. Okay.
yeah.
So step one, we're going to document 72 hours. We're going to try to like take note and be hyper aware of like all these different things happening. Then step two is we're going to take some of that, throw it into our favorite AI tool and have it ask some questions related to those stories and how it might tie back
Mhm.
to the content that you're creating. And I feel like that's like a rinse and repeat process, right? So like maybe once a week you're
Yes.
just going in and being like, my gosh, this week was crazy. I spent 12 hours at the ball fields and I watched 4 All-Star games. And then on, Tuesday, my kid took a PVC pipe and hit his friend with it in the face. And then we had all the things Michelle and I talked about before I clicked record, right?
And I was literally like, "Oh my god, that's a story. Oh my
The
gosh, that's a
story.
story." Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So now connecting the dots just a little bit further to unpack this, right? When we're thinking about stories and we're thinking about selling, how do we make that leap? Because I think we've all received an email or seen something on social and somebody is like telling some off the wall thing. And then it's like, and my courses are here, or and this product is here. So what is your best recommendation on like how to take these stories and use them to develop your personal brand and that know like trust factor, but also like ultimately, like how are we making money from these stories? How are we actually making sales from it?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think there's a really big difference between storytelling from like an influencer standpoint, which a lot of us see and a lot of us are like, "Well, how does that apply?" You know
Yeah,
what I
like
mean?
what does that have to do with selling more sunscreen or selling more water bottles or
Yes.
selling more? Yeah, exactly.
And storytelling from like a I run a business, I sell a specific
Yeah.
product or a service. And remember, the first thing that we talked about was the ideal customer piece. Like, you really
Hmm.
cannot have a successful brand or business without knowing who you're speaking to.
Yeah.
And when you know that, then all the stories that you're going to be creating will very easily connect to that ideal customer, which does make the transition into the offer a lot easier. But I also get that when we go to like say or write the pitch or say the pitch on camera or whatever, we're like, geez. So I recommend with that story bank we talked about earlier is picking out like 5 to 10 core product stories that you can rinse and repeat. And you can tell them different ways, or you could tell it in a reel, or you could put a carousel together, or you could do it on a video, or you could send it in an
Yeah.
email, right? Like I know we like to think that everyone has seen and remembers all of our content, but they don't. And you need to say it multiple times anyway. And so this is so helpful. A lot of my clients will use it if they're launching, like if you have a favorite product that you sell and every couple months you like to talk about it, you reuse those same stories. So these could be stories, case studies of people who used it and things that they said about it, your own personal use with that, which is so relevant to your audience, something they used or a family member used, how it made their life easier. You guys might be familiar with Jenna Kutcher. You know, she's obviously
Yeah.
a really big service based. And I always think about her connection with the skincare line Primally Pure. It helped her clear up a lot of her acne and clear up her skin. And she was removing a lot of toxins because of her fertility story and all these different things. Like she tells the same story every few months and the
Yeah.
same sets of stories every few months. And so that's a really great way to get started without feeling overwhelmed and just start to pick out some of these core ones that you can rinse and repeat. And then again, once you practice this, I promise you, you're going to write a story and you'll be like, oh my gosh, this ties to my product. My son said this to me at the grocery store and now I can just go tell my audience and you pump it out in like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I love that. So I love kind of the differentiation too between like telling stories as like kind of like an influencer lifestyle, personal brand online, like you said earlier, like, oh, I might be teaching something, but have gardening in the background. Like you're not selling gardening tools, but people know you as like, oh, that's like something she does. And that like represents Michelle. Right. And then kind of the flip side of that is, okay, here's a set of core stories that I'm going to rinse, repeat, repurpose, use in different ways that are really specifically tied to the products that I'm selling.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I would add that I didn't mention is that, like, we put so much pressure on the actual selling. But again, when your audience knows you and they trust you, when you tell them about something that is literally going to make their life easier or help them improve some aspect, they're going to be accepting that. And so most of the time, your job isn't to be like, I have this amazing thing. It's to connect the dots for
Yeah.
them, which is why storytelling's so helpful, because you can mirror and experience, offer up the solution through the art of storytelling.
I love this. We could talk about this all day.
We could.
Speaking of the art of storytelling, you have a book coming out soon. Tell us about what is happening in October. I want to hear all the details.
Yeah, this is crazy. I literally just released a Substack this morning that talks publicly about writing the book. Like, I've mentioned it to my audience, my email list, my clients have known for a long time. But it wasn't until recently that I realized that I wasn't actually writing a book on branding, which is what I thought I was writing a book on. I was
Okay.
writing a book about becoming and the things that I learned through the branding process about creating a very intentional life and becoming the person that deep down was always there, that we had to uncover and find what made her authentic and find the voice. So it's not a memoir and it's
Yeah.
not a business book, but it's really a book about uncovering what's kind of underneath the programming and what we've been told and how we should navigate life and becoming our most aligned and authentic selves. So it's coming out in October and I'm terrified.
My gosh. I feel like this goes back to the first question that describes your brand is human, right?
Yeah.
And I love that we
Yeah.
even talked about AI and how to cheat and how to leverage all of those things. But I think that that just ties back in so beautifully that like this is a story of all of the things that you go through. And I mean, that's part of business, right? Like I feel like entrepreneurship is like you want to learn a little bit about yourself, become an entrepreneur.
No joke.
All of a sudden you're going to see the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, right? As you're challenged and as you celebrate and yeah, just going through that whole process and the fact that it just continues to evolve like your personal brand, which I think is pretty cool too.
And I tell people all the time, I'm like, don't skip the branding. So many people fly through it or they skip it or they just want to get to the selling. Like, the best thing you can do is figure out, like, who is the person behind the brand? How do they want to show up? What
Yeah.
impact do they want to make? Like, we all have a deeper meaning to why we are running businesses. It's not just to make
Mhm.
money. There's always something under that. And you do yourself a solid when you give yourself the time to unpack that and then communicate that. That's what creates those $1.2 million launches. That's what creates clients I've had clients with me for 10 years, even though my brand
Right?
has evolved and turned,
Yep.
and they'll be the first in
Stuck
line to
with
buy the
you.
book.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the best things you can do.
My gosh. Okay. Well, we look forward to supporting you when the book launches. Make sure you loop back with us and let us know so we can celebrate with you and get copies of the book in everyone's hands. You also have a storytelling content, super content bundle. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
storytelling content bundle.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that and how we can maybe follow you, learn how to work with you and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to give you the strategies in the beginning, but the bundle makes your life so much easier because the bundle actually has tons of storytelling content ideas for different platforms.
Sure.
So whether you're doing video, carousel, emails, podcast titles, YouTube videos, there's a whole like mix and match for scripts with storytelling. So it's like a massive jumpstart when it comes to sharing story online. And it's not just fill in the blank. There's also prompts in there to get your juices flowing. And it's only $27. So it's a really good way to just kind of dip your toe in, actionable steps, get going, and then you don't need it forever. But that, as well as other storytelling resources, are available on my website, which is brandmerry.com. It's BRANDMERRY. And my Substack is there too. If you want to follow along, I'll be writing the book in public. So I'll
My
be
gosh.
sharing glimpses there as well.
That is incredible. So good, Michelle. We will make sure to link to that in all of the show notes as well so everyone can click on over and check it out. Thank you so much for being here and sharing stories with us and also a framework to think about strategic storytelling and how that can drive our sales and build our personal brand. This has been such a fun conversation. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.